Hey friends, PhysicsMathMan here bringing your weekly hero guide. This week we will cover Ezolor, the Keeper of the Light. Keeper of the Light is a ranged support that excels in the pushing game, both defending against it and sustaining one. Unlike most supports, he brings neither a hard disable nor a great deal of synergy amongst his spells, but instead acts as one, if not the best, utility heroes in the game. Time to go over his skill set. Illuminate, his first move, is an AoE nuke that gets stronger the longer you charge it. Although it has a very long cast time, at any point you can release the spell early. The huge AoE and the extreme cast range allows Kotl to channel the spell at a safe distance. Additionally, with the purchase of an Ag Scepter, Illuminate will heal allies during the daytime, transforming it into one of the best healing spells and pushing spells in the entire game. Mana Leak, his second spell, drains mana from the target as they move around, and if they run out, the ability will apply a stun. Even though the stun itself isn't reliable, the mana drain aspect can cripple a variety of heroes entirely, especially the ones that depend on escape mechanisms. That word is pronounced without an X noise, and I'm really trying to fix that, guys. Most notably, Mana Leak scales amazingly, and is a spell worth maxing out for its long cast range and short cooldown. His third ability, Gift Mana Kotl, otherwise known as Chakra Magic, replenishes you or your allies' mana and reduces the cooldown of the next spell used. This includes passives that have a cooldown like Drunken Brawler or Tidebringer. Chakra Magic scales amazingly well into the mid and late game, where it is extremely helpful for most ganking or sieging based teams. Finally, his ultimate, Spirit Form, grants Ezolor 2 new moves and alters his Illuminate, which can now be cast without having to be stationary. As per usual, you can release Illuminate if you don't want to channel it fully. Kotl being able to move around while channeling Illuminate increases his survivability drastically in tower defenses and teamfights in the mid game. The first of his gain spells is Recall, which allows Kotl to summon an allied hero to him from anywhere on the map. You have to be careful though, because the spell will be cancelled if the summoning is damaged anytime during the channeling. The second is Blinding Light, which pushes enemies back in a large AoE, breaking trees if they hit it, and also applies a whopping 80% mischance. Because Kotl's spells are amazing, we want to eventually max everything. Honestly, maxing any spell works in the right situation, but the safe bet is to go Illuminate max for its damage, counter pushing, and farming capabilities. Kotl's early game skill build is pretty flexible, but consider perhaps getting at least 1 point in each skill by level 4. Skipping Spirit Form early on isn't unheard of, since it's hard to have the mana to support multiple uses of Illuminate, Blinding Light, and Recall, unless you're using Chakra on yourself. Just to give another situation, if your team groups up early, or if you're in lane with an ally that constantly needs mana, say a PL or a Sven, consider maxing Chakra Magic, but keep in mind that your farm and level progression will suffer without having Illuminate early. Kotl is definitely a hard support, but he works well both in the off lane as an offensive support, or in the safe lane as a passive support. Regardless of the lane, his skill set isn't suited for ganks, so expect to stay within your lane a majority of the time. Apart from using your 600 range to harass, you can hide in the fog or trees to charge your Illuminate, which does massive damage early if you connect. This can be especially annoying if you change up your spots frequently to keep your enemies guessing at where you're at. Most of your lane allies won't want you to be pushing the lane, so really try to avoid blasting the whole wave with your Illuminate. The goal of your early game is to get some decent levels as a support to prepare for the mid-game push. Once you're level 8 or 9, you can begin grouping with your teammates to push outer towers. Most enemy lineups simply can't defend when you blast an entire creep wave away with one spell. Again, you'll be hiding in trees and fog when channeling your Illuminate, since you can easily be sniped by heroes who can close in rapidly like Storm, Clockwork, or Spirit Breaker. If you have an ally that has very short cooldown spells, such as Zeus, keep in mind that Chakra Magic also reduces their cooldown, so they can output a ton of magic DPS during the fights. Always make sure to keep throwing out Chakra Magic whenever it's off cooldown, but keep in mind that if you run out of mana, there won't be any chakra for anyone else, and you're pretty much worthless, so keep yourself filled as well. Especially during Spirit form, Kotl can go through his mana pool extremely fast. An important tip before using chakra is to drop a mana boosting item you have, such as a point booster. Use the ability and then re-pick up the item. Doing so will give you much more mana than you would have had otherwise. When it comes to tower defense, stay far behind your towers and use Illuminate's huge range to keep yourself from being initiated on. It's definitely worth popping Spirit form to get safer Illuminates and to have the blinding light to hit your enemies when they start pushing the tower. If you have some free time, consider stacking a jungle camp or two and farm it with Illuminate. Similar to how you defend towers, you can blast neutrals from a distance, making you more difficult to gank in the jungle. Even though Kotl is a support hero, it's important that he gets some farm, since his mid to late game item progression have a huge impact on your team. The late game starts for Kotl as soon as he picks up his ultimate scepter. It's hugely important to communicate to your allies to push during daytime, as Illuminate provides insane healing power, and you can sustain your push against spell harass. Farming and defending become an absolute cinch to do, since you can now Illuminate while walking away at all times, and you're likely to earn a large bit of gold. Spend this extra gold on items that synergize very well with Kotl, such as Necronomicon. Try to encourage your team to split push as much as possible, since you can solo defend towers with Illuminate spam, and at the same time you can use your recall ability to gather everyone up when it is finally time to fight. In almost every game, the item you are rushing towards is Aghanim's Scepter. Its incredible sustain and farming potential, as well as a relatively easy build-up, makes it the best item for Keeper. Afterwards, purchase whatever item the team needs the most, which a lot of the time is Force Staff, Glimmer Cape, or Mechanism. If you're pushing well and getting a lot of tower gold, more expensive items like Scythe of Ice, Shiva's Guard, or Necronomicon are fine choices. In general, you're going to want to take full ward duty, even if there's another support on the team. Let him get some items of his own. Here are the 3 takeaways on how to play Kotl effectively. Number 1. Adjust your ability progression to fit the lane that you are in. If in doubt, getting higher levels in Illuminate is a safe bet. Number 2. Getting Aghanim's is extremely powerful and should be your go-to item. After obtaining it, take objectives during daytime. And number 3, try and take advantage of Kotl's skill set by having a split push team, which takes advantage of both the recall and the counter push from Illuminate. Seriously, don't even try to push high ground against Ezalor the Keeper of the Light, because he shall not let you pass. This is PhysicsMathMan signing out for Relax You're Fine. By the way, follow me on Twitter and let's play some pub games together. Go ahead and do it right now.